Hello, YouTube. Otaku here. We're going to be getting back into the final parts of the introduction for The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. If you haven't been onto this channel before, go ahead and check out the channel description before continuing. If you have been onto this channel before, go ahead and grab your eucalyptus inhalation equipment and let's begin. Welcome back, everyone. It has been quite the time frame. The time skip has been immaculate for my mental, and I've not had a phone for a couple weeks. Sad to say, it was tough communicating with the people I wanted to, but the outcome of what happened is so much better than anything else I could imagine. I apologize. Let's get into smoking this. Also, if you have any water, please keep it right next to you for hydration checks. These sessions do get intense. But to celebrate coming back into the internet space, honestly, I'm more nervous than anything because I was so used to doing it every day that I could just feel like this tension in the back of my head. But yeah, the introduction's almost finished, and then we'll actually be able to get into the story. They're hyping the story up without fail. I'm very much curious on how it's going to end up turning out because so many people are just giving it such recognition and renown. But without further ado, we usually do a little 2-minute segment before starting this. Let's get into it. Like Brewer, Steinbeck revealed his approach to propaganda not only a shrewd, there you go, psychological perception of what would work and what would not, but also respect of his European audience. The crude oversimplification of most propaganda are, after all, patronizing. There is no such condescension in Steinbeck's approach. Condescension is definitely a word I gotta look into. But Steinbeck's understanding of what would appeal to a European audience under the unusual conditions of the day is all the more remarkable because, unlike Ruler, who had the advantage of being in the scene and of writing about people he knew well, Steinbeck was a foreigner living thousands of miles away. Steinbeck's own explanation for the perceptiveness that made his propaganda so effective is simple. During his visit to Norway in 1946, to receive King Haakon's medal, he was asked on several occasions how he knew so well what the resistance they were doing. His answer was, "I put myself in your place and thought I would do." I butchered that, I apologize. Also, this hat is slightly tighter than I remember it being. I'm going to just quickly loosen it up before continuing. Perfect. It's actually a lot more comfy. Okay. I put myself in your place and thought, what would I do? The reply explained more than the excess of The Moon is Down. In occupied Europe, it reminds us what readers at Steinbeck all over the world had already recognized as among the writer's majority attributes. His sure sense of audience and his empathy with the oppressed European Parisians who ran considerable risks to publish and distribute The Moon is Down because they believed it would help their cause, agreed about the source of its power. A Danish publisher ascribed it to Steinbeck's sincere sentiment, a human quality which penetrates. A Norwegian reviewer to his ability to capture our feelings, our problems, our hopes, our sorrows. The Dutch translator to Steinbeck's insight, especially in our reaction against the ones who took over the country, and the French translator to the author's masterful understanding at a jalapeno bacon wrap grilled delicious shish kebab, but the meat wasn't like the most flavorful. It was more the jalapeno that I was going for, and the corn on the cob. Anyways, all are acknowledgments of the sympathy and the social institution that John Steinbeck had already demonstrated in works of the middle 1930s, most notably from Of Mice and Men, In Dubious Battle, and The Grapes of Wrath. The success of The Moon is Down as propaganda then underscores Steinbeck's signal literary strengths. Most works of propaganda do not survive the crisis that produced them. The Moon is Down is an exception. Since 1945, it has appeared in at least 92 editions in the United States, England, Denmark, Norway, and the Netherlands, Spain, Mexico, Hungary, France, Belgium, Turkey, Germany, Switzerland, pre-communist mainland China, Taiwan, Japan, Egypt, Sweden, Italy, Portugal, Brazil, Korea, India, Greece, Iran, Poland, Slovakia, and Burma. The novel's endurance suggests that while The Moon is Down may be conceived, written, and used as propaganda, it is probably best described as a work of literature that serves as propaganda. Judged by purely artistic standards, it is not among the author's best efforts. Scholars and reviewers have most frequently criticized its wooden characters and transparent didacticism, flaws, characteristics of novels of ideas, but few literary works in our time have demonstrated such triumphantly the power of ideas in the face of cold steel and brute force, and few have spoken so reassuringly to so many people of different countries and cultures against the fierceness, fiercest, yeah, that's it, not fierceness, fiercest assault on freedom during this century. John Steinbeck calmly reaffirms in The Moon is Down that bedrock principles of democracy, the worth of the individual, and the power deriving from free citizens sharing common commitments. Whew, now that was a mouthful. I sure, when I think about reading that, I think I should read just a tad bit slower because not too much thought was put towards that. I know what I'm going to go do. One moment. Okay, back. Yeah. Before we continue, I'm going to let the room cool down just a little bit more. I think the jacket is making it a tad bit hot, but come on, it's Nike. Alright. We are past the introduction, and then suggestions of further readings on this side. All of John Steinbeck's other works, things that they would like for you to check out. The Sea of Cortez definitely sounds interesting. But here we go. Alright. I think I've already said this before, to Pat Savici, a great editor and a great friend. Whoever you are, Pat, you were great. Alright. Chapter 1, page 1. The moon is down. Ooh, so excited. By 10:45, it was all over. The town was occupied, the defenders defeated, and the war finished. The invaders had prepared for this campaign as carefully as he had for larger ones. But this Sunday morning, the postman and the policeman had gone fishing in the boats of Mr. Correll, the popular storekeeper. He had lent them his trim sailboat for the day. The postman and the policeman were several miles at sea, where they saw a small, dark transport loaded with soldiers go quietly past them. As officials of the town, this was definitely their business. And these two put about, but of course these battalions were in possession by the time they could make port. The policeman and the postman could not even get into their own offices in the town hall, and when they insisted on their rights, they were taken prisoners of war and locked up in their town jail. The local troops, all 12 of them, had been away too on this Sunday morning, for Mr. Correll, the popular storekeeper, had donated lunch. Okay. Let's stop right there for a second. It's quite frustrating. The body's internal regulations. Alright, I'm back. Yes, I do apologize. There was quite a bit of in my, and yeah, you understand. Alright, so the local troops, all 12 of them, had been away too on this Sunday morning. For Mr. Correll, the popular storekeeper, had donated lunch, targets, cartridges, and prizes for a shooting competition to take place 6 miles back at the hills, in this lovely glade Mr. Correll owned. The local troops, big, loose-hung boys, heard the planes and in the distance saw the parachutes, and they came back to town at double quick step. When they arrived, the invaders had flanked the road with machine guns. The loose-hung soldiers, having very little experience in war, and none at all in defeats, opened fire with their rifles. The machine guns clattered for a moment, and 6 of these soldiers became dead, riddled bundles, and 3 half-dead riddled bundles, and 3 of the soldiers escaped into the hills with their rifles. By 10:30, the brass band of the invaders was playing. The brass band of the invaders was playing? Now, I forgot that freaking enemies of war would sit there and play music to motivate their... Quite interesting. Okay, let's continue. Page 2. The moon is down. Beautiful and ceremonial music in the town square, while the townsmen, their mouths a little open and their eyes astonished. stood about listening to the music and staring at the gray helmeted men who carried submachine guns in their arms. By 10:38, the riddled six were buried and the parachutes were folded, and the battalions were billeted in Mr. Correll's warehouse by the pier, which had on its shell blankets and cots for a battalion. By 10:45, old Mayor Ornine had received the formal request that he grant an audience to Colonel Lancer of the invaders, an audience which was set for 11 sharp at the mayor's 5-room palace. The drawing room of the palace was very sweet and comfortable. The gilding chairs covered with their worn tapestry were set about stiffly like too many servants with nothing to them. See, I've lost my touch. It's so sad. It makes me want to cry. It truly does. Don't judge me. I am gonna freaking. There's no point in looking cool if I don't feel comfortable. I'm just gonna look miserable regardless of what I'm in. So, in the attempt to fix that, hydration check. All right. So, what so far? This middle of nothing town gets invaded. I'm not too sure exactly what this place is, but the invaders are coming in and they killed some people and they are playing music in the streets and are saying, yeah, we're here now, and the mayor is wanting to talk to them. Like, are we dead? Are we going to die? Are we just waiting to die? Because what's going on here? Alright, let's find out. The drawing room of the palace was very sweet and comfortable. The gilded chairs covered with their worn tapestry were set about stiffly like too many servants with nothing to do. An arched marble fireplace held its little basket of red flameless heat, and a hand-painted coal scuttle stood on the hearth on the mantel, flanked by fat vases. I never heard somebody call a vase fat, so that's very interesting. Alright. Stood a large curly polyant clock, which swarmed with tumbling shrubs. Yeah, shrubs. The wallpaper of the room was dark red with gold figures, and the woodwork was white, pretty, and clean. The paintings on the wall were largely preoccupied with the amazing heroism of large dogs faced with imperiled children. What a depiction. It took me a second to really understand that's all being shown on a picture on a wall, and then it was depicted to us. Nor water, nor fire, nor earthquake could do in a child so long as a big dog was available. Beside the fireplace, old Dr. Winter sat. Dr. Winter, bearded and simple and benign, historian and physician in the town, he watched in amazement while his thumbs rolled over and over in his lap. Dr. Winter was a man so simple that only a profound man would know him as profound. He looked up at Joseph, the mayor's serving man, to see whether Joseph was observed the rolling, wondering of his thumbs. 11 o'clock, Dr. Winter said. Oh yeah, we're bringing back the accents. And Joseph answered abstractedly, yes, sir. The note said 11. You read the note? I don't know why I'm giving him like a bloke accent. You read the note? Question mark. No, sir. His Excellency read the note to me. And Joseph went about testing each of the gilded chairs to see whether it had moved since it had last placed it. Joseph habitually scowled at furniture, expecting it to be impertinent, mischievous, or dusty. In a world where Mayor Ordine was the leader of men, Joseph was the leader of furniture, silver, and dishes. Joseph was elderly and lean and serious, and his life was so complicated with only a profound man would know him to be simple. He saw nothing amazing about Dr. Winter's rolling thumbs. In fact, he found them irritating. Joseph suspected that something pretty important was happening. What with foreign soldiers in the town and the local army killed and captured, sooner or later Joseph would have to get an opinion about it all. He wanted no levity. Levity. You're gonna have to look into that word as well. No rolling thumbs, no nonsense from furniture. Dr. Winter moved his chair a few inches from his appointed place, and Joseph waited impatiently for the moment when he could put it back again. Dr. Winter repeated, 11 o'clock. They'll be here then, too. A time-minded people, Joseph. And Joseph said without listening, "Yes, sir. A time-minded people," the doctor repeated. "Yes, sir," said Joseph. "Time and machines." "Yes, sir," Joseph said. They hurried towards their destiny as though it would not wait. They pushed the rolling world along with their shoulders. And Joseph said, "Quite right, sir." Simply because he was getting tired of saying "yes, sir." Joseph did not approve of this line of conversation. Since I'm so used to reading manga that I almost started reading that backwards. I'm not even kidding. Page 4. The moon is down. And it did not help him to have an opinion about anything. If Joseph remarked to the cook later in the day, "A time-minded people, Annie," it would not make any sense. Annie would ask, "Who?" And then ask, "Why?" And then finally say, "That's nonsense, Joseph." Joseph had tried carrying Dr. Winter's remark below stairs before and had always ended the same. And he always discovered them to be nonsense. So are they saying this like guy's nonsense, or he just kind of, are you going to talk about something that nobody's going to at least explain the reference before saying anything? Like, you know what I heard from our master? What? Some bullshit. Oh? Yeah, that is just some nonsense. Like, come on now, you're just like leaving her up for conjecture, and it's just, she's not the retarded one here. That's all I'm saying. Dr. Winter looked up from his thumbs and watched Joseph discipline the chairs. "What's the mayor doing?" Question mark. "Dressing to receive the colonel, sir." "You aren't helping him? He'll be ill-dressed by himself." "Madam is helping him. Madam wants him to look the best." Joseph blushed a little. "Madam is trimming his hair and out of his ears, sir. It's ticklish." "Well, let me do it." "Of course it's ticklish," said Dr. Winter. I think I'm getting the characters mixed up. No, I think I'm right. "Madam insists," Joseph said. Dr. Winters laughed suddenly. He stood up and held his hands in the fire, and Joseph skillfully darted behind him and replaced the chair where it should be. "You're so wonderful," the doctor said. "Our country's falling. Our town is conquered. The mayor is about to receive the conquerors. And Madam is holding the struggling mayor by the neck and trimming his hair out of his ears?" "He is getting very shaggy," said Joseph. "His eyebrows, too." His Excellency is more upset about having an eyebrows trimmed than his ears. He said it hurts. I doubt it even Madam can do it. She will try, Dr. Winter said. She wants him to look his best, sir. Through the glass window of the entrance door, a helmeted face looked in, and there was a rapping on the door. Alright. It seemed that some warm light went out of the room, and little grayness took its place. Dr. Winters looked up at the clock and said, They're early. Let them in, Joseph, Dr. Winters said. Joseph went to the door and opened it. A soldier stepped in, dressed in a long coat. He was helmeted, and he carried a submachine gun over his arms. He glanced quickly about and then stepped aside. Behind him, an officer stood in the doorway. The officer's uniform was common, and he had tank showed only on the shoulders. His rank showing only on the shoulders. The officer stepped inside and looked at Dr. Winter. He was rather like an overdrawn picture of an English gentleman. He was a slouch. His face was red. His nose was long, but rather pleasing. He seemed to be unhappy in his uniform, as most British generals are. He stood in the doorway, staring at Dr. Winter, and he says, Are you Mayor? Odin, sir? Dr. Winter smiled. No, sir, I am not. Are you an official, then? I am not the town doctor. No, I am the town doctor. I am a friend of the mayor. The officer said, Where's Mayor Odin? Dressing to receive you. Are you the colonel? No, I am not. I am Captain Bentic. He bowed, and Dr. Winter returned the bow slightly. Captain Bentic continued, as though a little embarrassed as to what he had to say. Our military regulation, sir, prescribes that we search for weapons before the commanding officer enters a room. We mean no disrespect, sir. He called over his shoulder. Sergeant! The sergeant moved quickly to Joseph, ran his hands over his pockets and said, Nothing, sir. Captain Benstick said to Dr. Winter, I hope you will. Page 6. The moon is down. Pardon us. And the sergeant went to Dr. Winter and patted his pockets. His hand stopped in the inside coat pocket. He reached quickly in, brought out a little flat black leather case, and took it to Captain Benstick. Captain Benstick opened the case and found there was a few simple surgical instruments, 2 scalpels, 2 surgical needles, some clamps, and a hypodermic needle. He closed the case again and handed it back to Dr. Winter. And the doctor said, You see, I'm a country doctor. Once I'm out of performing impectomy and pedectomy and pet. I will get this word right. I whatever. Impectomy with the kitchen knife. I always carried these with me ever since then. Captain Benstick said, I believe there's some firearms here. Bruh, I'm not looking at something flying in front of me right now with such casualness. Anyways, alright. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what this thing is trying to do. But it is definitely distracting. I apologize, audience. Alright, I'm ready to continue. Captain Bindstick said, I believe there's some firearms here. He opened a little leather book as he carried it in his pocket. Dr. Winter said. You are thorough. Yes, our local men have been working here for some time, Dr. Winter said. I don't suppose you would tell me who that man is. Bentic said. His work is all down now. I don't suppose there would be any harm in telling you. His name is Corell. Dr. Winter said with astonishment. George Corell? Why, that seems impossible. He's done a lot for this town. Why, he even gave prizes for the shooting match in the hill this morning. And he said, and his eyes began. Got it. Yes. Alright. As he said it, his eyes began to understand what had happened, and his mouth closed slowly. And he said, I see. That's why he gave the shooting match. Yes, I see. Well, George Corell, that sounds impossible! Exclamation point. The door to the left opened and Mayor Ordine came in. He was dragging in his right ear with his index finger. He was dressed in his official morning coat, with his chain of office around his neck. He was a large white spraying mustache, and two smaller ones, one right each over the eye. His white hair was so recently brushed that only now were the hairs struggling to be free, to stand up again. He had been mayor so long that he was the idea mayor of the town. Even grown people, when they saw the word mayor painted or written, saw Mayor Ordine in their minds. He and his office were one. Hiccups. It had given him dignity, and he had given him warmth. For behind him, Madame emerged, small and wrinkled and fierce. She considered that she had created this man out of wool cloth, had thought him up, and she was sure that she could do a better job if she had to do it again. Only once or twice in her life did she ever understand all of him. But the part of him which she knew intrinsically and well. No little appetite or pain, no carelessness or meanness in him escaped her. No thought or dream or longing in him ever reached her. And yet several times in her life she had seen the stars. She stepped around the mayor, and she took his hand and pulled his finger out of his outraged ear and pushed his hand to his side. She would take a baby's thumb away from his mouth. I don't believe for a moment it hurts as much as you say, she said to Dr. Winter. You won't let me fix his eyebrows. It hurts, said Dr. Ordine. Very well. If you want to look like that, there's nothing I could do about it. She straightened him, already straight and tie. I'm glad you're here too, Doctor, she said. How many do you think will come? And then she looked up and saw Captain Benstick. Oh, she said, the Colonel. Captain Benstick said, No, madam. I'm only preparing for the Colonel. Sergeant. The sergeant, who had been turning over pillows, looking behind pictures, came quickly to Mayor Ordine and ran his hands over his pockets. Captain Benstick said, Excuse him, sir. It's regulations. Man, fuck his regulations. Alright, we're gonna smoke super quick. So it's like, fucking, don't shoot the messenger guy came in here and just like, yeah, part of the trade. Got to pat you down in your own city. Awful. Whoever these people are, they're already breaking boundaries, in my opinion. Anyways. That's right. We smacked these. We also smacked these. Let's see. We're at 13% on the Paradise favorite strain for the product. After I'm done reading this book, I'm going to go watch the second season of One Piece live action, episode 2. Looking forward to it. Yes, sirree. You could taste like slight bit of pear, but for the most part, it's just straight up THC smacky. After I'm done watching that, though, I'm gonna come up here and work on my skills. All right. Page 8 of The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. He glanced around at the little book in his hand. Your Excellency, I think you have some firearms here. Do I? Bless me, I apologize. 2 items, I believe. Mayor Ardeen said, firearms? Guns, you mean? I guess. Yes. I had a shotgun and a sporting rifle, he said, deprecatingly. You know, I don't hunt very much anymore. I always think I'm gonna, and I think the season's open. I don't get out. I don't take the pleasure in it. I used to, though. Captain Benstick insisted. Where are these guns, Your Excellency? The mayor rubbed his cheek and tried to think. Why, I think. He turned to Madam. Weren't they in the back of that cabinet in the bedroom and they were walking sticks? Madam said, Yes. Think every stitch of clothing in that cabinet smells of oil. I wish you put them somewhere else. Captain Benstick said, Sergeant! And the sergeant went quickly into the bedroom. It's unpleasant duty, sir. I'm sorry, said the captain. The sergeant came back carrying a double-barrel shotgun and a rather nice sporting rifle on a shoulder strap. He leaned them against the side of the entrance door. Captain Benstick said, That's all. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, madam, and bowed. He turned and bowed slightly to Dr. Winter as well. Thank you, Doctor. Colonel Lancer will be here directly. Good morning. And he marched away. Exclamation point. And went out the front door, followed by the sergeant with the 2 guns in one hand and a submachine gun over his right arm. Madam said, For a moment, I thought he was the colonel. He was a rather nice-looking young man. Dr. Winters said, sardoniously, No, he was just protecting the colonel. Madam was thinking, I wonder how many officers will come, ? And she was looking at Joseph and saw that he was shamelessly eavesdropping. She shook her head at him and frowned when he went back to the little things he had been doing. He began dusting all over again, and Madam said, How many do you think will come? ? Dr. Winters pulled out a chair outrageously and sat down again. I don't know, he said. Well, she frowned at Joseph. We've been talking it over. Should we offer them tea or a glass of wine? If we do, I don't know how many there will be. And if we don't, what are we going to do? Dr. Winters shook his head and smiled. I don't know. It's been so long since we conquered anyone or anything. Conquered us. I don't know what is proper anymore about all this. Mayor Ardeen had his fingers back in his itching ear. He said, Well, I don't think we should. I don't think the people would like it. I don't want to drink wine with them. I don't know why. Madame appeared and the doctor there. Didn't people in the old days, the leaders, that is, compliment each other and take a glass of wine? ? Dr. Winters nodded. Indeed, yes they did. He shook his head slowly. Maybe that was different. Kings and princes played at war the way Englishmen played hunting. When the foxes were dead, they gathered a hunt breakfast. But Mayor Dean was probably right. The people may not like him to drink wine with the invaders. Madame said, "The people are down listening to the music." And he told me, they can do that. Why shouldn't we keep civilized procedures alive? Question mark. All very good questions. All very good questions. Page 10. The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. The mayor looked steadily at her for a moment, and his voice was sharp. Madame, I think, with your permission, we would not have wine. The people are confused now. They have lived in peace so long that they do not quite believe in war. They will learn, and then they will not be confused anymore. They elect me not to be confused. 6 town boys were murdered this morning. Think we will have hunt breakfast. Think we will have no hunt breakfast. The people do not fight wars for sport. Madame bowed slightly. There was a bit of number of times in her life where her husband had become the mayor. She had learned not to confuse the mayor with her husband. This is interesting. This is really freaking interesting so far, I can't lie. There's a lot of rules and regulations and ethics, and it just feels like everybody kind of is a character. They know their place. They have their roles to play. And it's like nobody's breaking character. Hi, Dad. Yeah. I just, it's like a little wombo combo, I can't lie. Water and a proper smacky. Alright, let's see. Yep. We're in paragraph 2, sentence 2 of page 10. The Moon is Down. She had learned not to confuse the mayor with her husband. Mayor Dean looked at his watch, and when Joseph came in carrying a small cup of black coffee, he took it absent-mindedly. "Thank you," he said, and then he sipped it. "I should be clear," he said apologetically to Dr. Winter. "I should be. You know how many men the invaders have?" "Not many," the doctor said. "I don't think over 250. But all those little machine guns." The mayor sipped his coffee again and made a new start. "About the rest of the country." The doctor raised his shoulders and dropped them again. "Is there no resistance anywhere?" the mayor went on hopelessly. Pretty good so far, hopelessly. And again the doctor raised his shoulders. "I don't know. The wires are cut and captured. There's no news. And our boys? Our soldiers? I don't know," said the doctor. Joseph interrupted. "I heard. That is, Annie heard." "What, Joseph?" ? "6 men were killed, sir, by the machine guns. Annie heard that they were wounded and captured. But they were 12. Annie heard that 3 escaped." "That's right, 3 did escape." Yep. The mayor turned sharply. Page 11. "Which one escaped?" he demanded. "I don't know, sir. Annie didn't hear." Madame inspected the table from dust with her finger. She said, Joseph, when they came, stay close to your bell. We just might want some little thing. But put on your other coats. Joseph, that one with the buttons. She thought for a moment, like I'm really putting on Maul's voice from The Grapes of Wrath. Like if you've heard my other book reading, and right now it's currently just reading because this is soon going to be plural upon plural, but currently it's just singular, plural. I don't even know if I'm using that correct, but anyways, she's definitely getting the Maul treatment from that side of the book. All right. She thought for a moment. And Joseph, when you finish what you are told to do, go out of the room. It makes a bad impression when you just stand around listening. Provincial. That's what it is. Provincial. Yeah? Provincial. That's what it is. Yes, ma'am, Joseph said. We won't serve wine, Joseph, but we might just have some cigarettes handy in that little silver conserve box. And don't strike the match to light the Colonel's cigarettes in your shoe. Strike it on the matchbox. Yes, ma'am. Mayor Ordine unbuttoned his coat and took out his watch, and looked at him, put it back, and unbuttoned his coat again. One button too high. Madame went to him and rebuttoned it correctly. Dr. Winter asked, What time is it? 5 of 11. Time-minded people, the doctor says. They'll be here on time. Do you want me to go away? Mayor Ordine looked startled. Go! No, stay! He laughed softly. I'm a little afraid, he said apologetically. Well, not afraid. I'm nervous. And then he said hopelessly, We had never been conquered, not for a long time. He stopped to listen. In the distance, there was a sound of band music and a march. They all turned in direction and listened. Madam said, Here they come. I hope not too many try to crowd in here at once. It isn't a very big room. Alright, we're at the 47 mark. I'd say give it another 15 minutes and we'll give it a proper stop. Page 12 with The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. Dr. Winter said sardonically, Madam, would you prefer the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles? Yep. Question mark. She pinched her lips and looked around, already placing the conquerors with her mind. It is a very small room, she said. The band music swelled a little and then grew fainter. Then came a gentle tap at the door. Now, who could it be? Joseph, if it's anyone, tell him to come back later. We're just too busy. I'm going to assume Ma's talking because she, I believe, was the last one speaking. So I'm going to assume that was Ma talking. We are very busy. The tap came again. Joseph went to the door and opened it at a crack and then a little wider. A gray figure, helmeted and gauntleted, appeared. Colonel Lance's compliments, the head said. Colonel Lance requested audience with Your Excellency. This is happening. He's here. All right. This is what I'm doing, waiting for the colonel to come in, as the doors open. You want to blink? We got cigarettes. We can't serve you wine. My wife doesn't want to give you wine. So, we got cigarettes. That's all you're getting. Can't hit the pen. Sorry, not anymore. You're too late. Okay. Joseph opened the door wide. The helmeted orderly stepped inside and looked quickly about the room and then stood aside. "Colonel Lancer," he announced. A second helmeted figure walked into the room, and his rank showed only on his shoulders. Behind him came a rather short man in a black business suit. The colonel was a middle-aged man, gray and hard and tired-looking. He had the square shoulders of a soldier, but his eyes lacked the blank look of an ordinary soldier. The little man beside him was bald and rosy-cheeked, with small black eyes and a sensual mouth. Colonel Lancer took off his helmet. With a quick bow, he said, "Your Excellency." Ooh. He bowed to Madame. "Madame." And then he said, "Close the door, please, Corporal." Joseph quickly shut the door and stared in small triumph at the soldier. Lancer looked questionably at the doctor, and Mayor Ordine said, "This is Dr. Winter." "An official?" ? The colonel asked. "A doctor, sir, and I might say the local historian." Lancer bowed slightly. He said, "Dr. Winter, I do not mean to be impertinent, but there will be a page in your history, perhaps." The Dr. Winter smiled. "Many pages, perhaps." Colonel Lancer turned slyly towards his companion. "I think you know Mr. Corral," he said. The mayor said, "George Corral. Of course I know. How are you, George?" Well, the timer went off, but we're going to go ahead and take these last 8 minutes and finish this. "George Corral. Of course I know. How are you, George?" ? Dr. Winters cut in sharply. He said very formally, "Your Excellency, our friend, George Corral, prepared this town for the invasion. Our benefactor, George Corral, sent our soldiers into the hills. Our dinner guest, George Corral, had made a list of every firearm in the town. Our friend, George Corral, ! Corral said angrily, "I work for who I believe in. This is an honorable thing." "Oh, fuck you, Corral. Whatever you believe in. You know what I believe in? The smacking the fuck out of your bitch ass." Ardine's mouth hung a little open. He was bewildered. He looked helplessly from Winter to Corral. "This isn't true," he said. "George, this isn't true. You sat at my table. You drink poured with me. Why, you helped me plan the hospital. This isn't true." He was looking very steadily at Corral, and Corral looked belligerent. He looked belligerently at him. Whew. There was a long silence. Then the mayor's face grew slowly tight and very formal, and his whole body was rigid. He turned to Colonel Lancer, and he said, "I do not wish to speak in this gentleman's company." Corral said, "I have the right to be here. I am a soldier like the rest. I simply do not wear a uniform." espionage, fucking enemy spy, scum. The mayor repeated, I do not wish to speak in this gentleman's presence. Colonel Lancer said, will you leave us for now, Mr. Corral? Question mark. And Corral said, I have a right to be here! Exclamation point. Lancer repeated sharply, will you leave us now, Mr. Corral? Do you outrank me? Question mark. Well, no, sir. Please go, Mr. Corral, said Colonel Lancer. And Corral looked at the mayor angrily, and then he turned and went quickly out of the doorway. Dr. Winter chuckled and said, that's good enough for a paragraph in my history. Colonel Lancer glanced sharply at him, but he did not speak. Now the door on the right opened, and straw-hatted, red-eyed Annie put an angry face into the doorway. There's soldiers in the back porch, madame, she said, just standing there. Excuse me. Those jalapeno poppers went on. Thank you to my brother and his family, his the partner that he shares, the child that they bear together, and the food that they bring into the house that I was able to have tonight. I really do appreciate that. Love you guys. Alright, let's continue. But yeah, good on them for like kicking that guy out, because that's like traitor status, basically. They're looking at him like, yeah, basically spin on our faces despite all of our, goodwill we've had together. Which is true, because now their town is being basically held at gunpoint unless whatever's about to happen is going to like end in their benefit in some way. But I'm sure it's going to take bloodshed. Let's keep it going. Oops. Yeah. It won't come in, Colonel Lancer said. It's only military procedure. Madame said icily, Annie, if you have anything to say, let Joseph bring the message. I didn't know, but they tried to get in, Annie said. They smelled the coffee. Annie? Yes, madame. And she withdrew. Good on Annie. Good on you for withdrawing. The colonel looked at madame, and she seated herself and settled tiredly into the chair. Mayor Ordine stood, said half dreaming. The colonel began, we want to get along as well as we can. You see, sir, there's more like a business venture than anything else happening. We need the coal mines here and the fishing. We will try to get along with just a little fraction as possible. You understand? The mayor said, I have had no news. What about the rest of the country? All taken, said the colonel. It was well planned. Was there no resistance anywhere? Question mark. The colonel looked at him compassionately. I wish there had not been. Yes, there was some resistance. But it was only because bloodshed. We had planned very carefully. Orden struck to his point. But there was resistance? Question mark. Yes. But it was foolish to resist. Just as here, it was destroyed instantly. It was sad and foolish to resist then, and it is foolish to resist now. Dr. Winters came to some of the mayor's anxiousness about the point. Yes, he said, foolish, but they did resist. The Colonel Lancer replied, only a few, and they are gone. The people are whole, are quiet. Damn, this guy's fucked up. This guy is really fucked up. You're a piece of shit, Colonel. That's terrible. Now, sir, I must get to business. I'm really very tired. But before I can sleep, I must make my arrangements. He sat forward on the chair, so he's basically pulling up. Alright. I am more engineer than soldier. This whole thing is more an engineering job than conquest. The coal must come out of the ground and then be shipped. We have technicians, but the local people will continue to work in the mines. Is that clear? Question mark. We do not wish to be harsh about this. And Ordine said, yes, that is clear. But suppose the people don't want to work in the mines? Question mark. The Colonel said, I hope that they will want to, because they must. They must have the coal. But if they don't? Question mark. They must. They are an orderly people. They don't want trouble. He waited for the mayor's reply and none came. Is that not so, sir? The Colonel continued. Mayor Ordine twisted his chin. I don't know, sir. They are orderly under their own government. I don't know how they would be under yours. It is untouched ground, you see. We have built our government over 400 years. God, I know it's over an hour, but I just want to keep reading so bad. I'll read until it kind of starts whatever to me. So, I got a new phone. I can do whatever I want because I got as much space or whatever. I ain't got all that insane amount of screenshots I just couldn't let go of because, oh well, gone now. Phone broke. Can't get it back. Anyways. The Colonel said quickly, we know that, and we are going to keep your government. You will still be the mayor. You will give the orders. We will penalize and reward. In that way, they will not give trouble. Mayor Ordine looked at Dr. Winters. What are you thinking about all this? I don't know, said Dr. Winter. It'd be interesting to see. I'd expect trouble. This might be a bitter set of people. Mayor Ordine continued. I don't know either. He turned to the Colonel. Sir, I am this people, and yet I don't know what they will do. Perhaps you know, or maybe it would be different from anything you know or we know. Some people accept appointed leaders and obey them, but my people have elected me. They made me, and they can unmake me. Perhaps they will if they think I had gone over to you. I just don't know. The Colonel said, you will be doing them a service, if you keep them in order. Service? Yes, a service. It is your duty to protect them from harm. They will be in danger if they are rebellious. We must get the coal, you see. I can just imagine him rubbing his fingers like, we must get the coal, you see. Like a fucking Bond's villain. Our leeches do not tell us how. They order us to get it. But you have your people to protect. You must make them do the work and thus keep them safe. Mayor Ordine asked, but suppose I don't want to be safe? Question mark. Then you must think for them. Ordine said, a little proudly, my people don't like to have others think for them. Maybe they are different from your people. I am confused, but that I am sure of. Now Joseph came in quickly and he stood leaning forwards, apologies. Bam. I might as well just stop there, but no, I'm not going there. Bursting to speak, Madame said, what is it, Joseph? Get the silver box of cigarettes. Pardon, Madame, said Joseph. Pardon, Your Excellency. What do you want? The mayor asked. It's Annie, he said. She's getting angry, sir. What's the matter? Oh, what's the matter? Madame demanded. Annie doesn't like the soldiers on the back porch, the colonel asked. They're causing trouble. They're looking through the door at Annie. Joseph said, she hates that. The colonel said, are they carrying out orders? They're doing no harm. Fuck off. I'm going to even say that again in his accent. They are carrying out orders. They are doing no harm. Well, Annie hates to be stared at, said Joseph. Madame said, Joseph, tell Annie to take care. Yes, Madame, said Joseph as he went out. The colonel's eyes dropped with tiredness. Mm-hmm. Yep. There's another thing, Your Excellency, he said. Would it be possible for me and my staff to stay here? Mayor Ordine thought a moment and said, it's a small place. There are larger, more comfortable places. Then Joseph came back with a silver box of cigarettes, and he opened it and held it in front of the colonel. When the colonel took one, Joseph ostensibly Joseph ostentiously lit it. Wow. I can only imagine what that word means. I'm going to look it up later. The colonel puffed deeply. I knew I could say it. It was literally just a matter of trial and error until it came out of me. You know, like, he's smoking. He's smoking right now. We should be the colonel smoking right now. So, the colonel puffs deeply. Isn't that? He said, we have found that when a staff leaves under the roof of the local authority, there is more tranquility. I can just imagine him fucking talking this. Tranquility. Fucking dramatic ass Bond's villain. I'm telling you. This dude is giving me nothing but like, I bet he has a scar over his eye. You mean, said Ordine, the people feel there is collaboration involved? Question mark. Yes, I suppose that is it. Page 18. Yeah, for you. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to just read a little bit more, but we're going to pick back up on this. Mayor Ordine looked helplessly at Dr. Winter, and Winter could offer him nothing but a weary smile. Ordine said softly, Am I permitted to refuse this honor? Question mark. I'm sorry, the colonel said. No, these are the orders of my leader. The people are not like this, Ordine said. Always the people. The people are disarmed. The people have no say. Mayor Ordine shook his head. Yeah, I can see why this is compelling to people that are actually going through this. Like, if you were going through something like this and this is what you were reading, this is some really captivating shit. I can't even lie. I'm not gonna lie. Oh my gosh, I gotta read this next line. Hold on. Mayor Ordine shook his head. You do not know, sir. From the doorway came the sounds of an angry woman's voice and a thump of a man's cry. Joseph came scurrying through the door. She thrown boiling water, Joseph said. She's very angry. There was commands through the door and the clump of feet. Colonel Lancer got up heavily. Have you no control over your servants, sir? Question mark, he asked. Mayor Ordine smiled. Very little. He said, She's a good cook when she's happy. Was anyone hurt? He asked Joseph. The water was boiling, sir, Colonel Lancer said. We just want to do our... Oh, I'm talking too fast. This is too good to just fucking run through. We just want to do our job, Colonel Lancer said. It's our engineering job. You will have no discipline to your cook? I can, said Ordine. She'll quit. This is an emergency. She can't quit. And she'll just throw water, said Dr. Winter. The door opened and a soldier stood at the opening. Shall I arrest this woman, sir? Was anyone hurt? Lancer asked. Yes, sir. Scalded, and one man bitten. We are holding her down. Lancer looked helplessly and then said, Release her. Go outside and off the porch. Quit staring. Yes, sir. And the door closed behind the soldier. This book is good. This book is fucking good. Like, what else can I say? This is like fucking grand. What a terrible set of circumstances. And you could just tell this dude's embarrassed. He's like fucking flopping. If there was any more fucking worth his salt, this fucking colonel would have like fucking put that woman down. Boom. Fucking the order would just been like, it would have been like immediate tyrant, but he's trying. And there's like a layer of like embarrassment and shame that's like pretty interesting. Can't lie. Gosh, what is the time? Oh, goodness. All right. Page 19 of The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. I'm going to call it here. Thank you very much. If you made it all the way here, I just want to thank you for putting up with the errors, staying for the good vibes. And with that out of the way, I shall smoke again. Fucking God, I caught it with my like pinky, my like last finger. You see that? That's how I like caught it whenever it slipped out of my mouth. Alright. That was well. Peace. Gang, gang, gang.